Hey everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Today, we're throwing it back to a classic Jeopardy! Game that originally aired on November 25th, 2014. This was a nail-biter of an episode from the Tournament of Champions. It's featuring the incredible Arthur Chu, Julia Collins, and Ben Ingram. These are three absolute legends of the game, and watching them go head-to-head is a masterclass in strategy and knowledge. The categories for the Jeopardy! Round were pretty diverse. We had U.S. presidents, recent cinema on the menu, literary title characters, initials to full names, and from sea to shining sea, it was a great mix. Testing everything from history to pop culture to some tricky wordplay. Right from the start, you could feel the intensity. Arthur Chu, known for his aggressive board-hopping strategy, was immediately on the hunt for those daily doubles. Ben Ingram, a 7-time champion, was calm and collected, picking off clues with precision. And Julia Collins, who had that amazing 20-game winning streak, was right there with them, showcasing her incredible breadth of knowledge. The first part of the round saw the players trading blows. Arthur, true to form, wasn't playing the categories top-down. He was jumping around, trying to disrupt the flow and find the daily double. Anne and Julia held their ground, answering correctly and keeping the scores tight. The recent cinema category was interesting, with clues about movies from that time period. It's always fun to look back and see what was popular. The literary title characters category also provided some great moments, separating the truly well-read from the rest. As the first commercial break approached, the scores were incredibly close, and it was clear this was going to be a battle all the way through. Coming back from the break, the hunt for the daily double was on. Arthur's strategy is all about controlling the board to find it. And he finally landed on it under U.S. presidents for $1,000. It was a pivotal moment. The clue was about a president who served in the House of Representatives after his presidency. Arthur, thinking for a moment, correctly named John Quincy Adams. He made a significant wager, and it paid off, giving him a solid lead. But you can never count out champions like Ben and Julia. They immediately started firing back, with Ben showing particular strength in the history and geography categories. Julia was consistently strong across the board, picking up points and keeping herself in contention. One of the more playful categories was on the menu, with clues about foods starting with the letter M. It offered a little bit of lighthearted fun amidst the intense strategic play. The From Sea to Shining Sea category was a clever wordplay challenge, where every correct response was a word that started and ended with the letter C. You could see the players' minds working overtime on those. As the round drew to a close, Arthur Chu had managed to build a noticeable lead, thanks in large part to his daily double success. The Double Jeopardy! Round kicked off and the stakes were well doubled. The categories were world capital attractions, science and nature, in the dictionary, the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, plays and playwrights, and it's a big deal. These were some heavy-hitting categories. And with 2 daily doubles hidden on the board, everything could change in an instant. Arthur started with control of the board and immediately went back to his signature style, hopping around to find the big money clues and the daily doubles. Ben and Julia knew they had to be aggressive to catch up. The Rock and Roll Hall of Fame category was a fun one, testing the players' knowledge of music history. Ben Ingram, showing his diverse knowledge base, did particularly well here. Meanwhile, Julia was making a steady comeback, especially in the plays and playwrights category. The tension was building as everyone wondered where those daily doubles were hiding. Arthur was playing a masterful game of keep away, but Ben eventually found the first one under World Capital Attractions. The clue was about the Little Mermaid statue. Ben, knowing it's a famous landmark in Copenhagen, answered correctly. He made a solid wager that brought him much closer to Arthur's score. The pressure was now squarely back on Arthur. The game continued at a frantic pace. The clues were getting tougher, and the players were taking more risks. Arthur, feeling the heat from Ben, was trying to build his lead back up. He then found the second and final daily double of the round under the science and nature category. This was his chance to potentially put the game away before Final Jeopardy. The clue was a tough one, related to astronomy. Arthur took his time, considered the question, and gave his response. Unfortunately, he was incorrect. It was a huge swing. His big wager went down the drain, and suddenly his commanding lead vanished. Just like that, the game was wide open again. It was a classic Jeopardy moment where one clue can change everything. With that miss, the scores tightened dramatically. Ben and Julia had a renewed sense of hope and pounced on the opportunity. He started ringing in and answering correctly, chipping away at what was left of Arthur's lead. The It's a Big Deal category, with its clever wordplay, led to some rapid-fire responses. As the final seconds of the Double Jeopardy round ticked away, it was a mad dash for cash. When the dust settled, the scores were incredibly close. Going into Final Jeopardy, Arthur Chu was still in the lead, but just barely. And so, it all came down to one last clue. The category for Final Jeopardy was the Supreme Court. This is always a tough academic category that can trip up even the best players. The three champions stood at their podiums, pens ready, as Alex Trebek revealed the final clue. It read, "He is the only person to have served as U.S. Solicitor General and as a Supreme Court Justice." The players had 30 seconds to write down their responses. You could see the intense concentration on their faces. This one clue would decide who would advance in the Tournament of Champions. The music ended, and it was time for the reveals. First up was Julia Collins. She had wagered a significant amount, $9,200. She revealed her response. "Who is Thurgood Marshall?" And she was correct. Thurgood Marshall was indeed the right answer. Her score shot up to $20,400, putting immense pressure on the other two. Next was Ben Ingram. He also had the correct response. Who is Thurgood Marshall? His wager was $10,000, which brought his total to $23,200, vaulting him into the lead. It all came down to Arthur Chu. He was in the lead going into final, so he just needed to be correct and wager enough to cover Ben. He revealed his response. Who is Thurgood Marshall? Correct. All three champions knew it. Now, what was his wager? He had wagered $10,801. That was enough. What an incredible match. Our three players showed why they are champions. Julia's knowledge, Ben's composure, and Arthur's strategy made for a truly memorable game. Even though Arthur came out on top, everyone played brilliantly. This is why we love watching the Tournament of Champions. Thanks so much for joining me on this look back at a fantastic episode of Jeopardy! If you enjoyed this recap, be sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more classic game show analysis. Let me know in the comments what you thought of Arthur's strategy. See you next time.